Okay, thank you all for coming tonight. I know stormwater is a big issue. When was it, last July, we had that big storm. We got like 6 inches of rain in the course of 2 hours. And, you know, everybody tells me that nothing's gonna stop that. But at any rate, I thought it would be helpful for everybody to ask their questions to the professionals, the engineers. So you can ask them, they're well versed in state, federal laws, what we can do, what we can't do, and what's possible. I've been working on stormwater since Hurricane Floyd back in '99, and we've made significant progress, but there's always more to do. So, and Andy can go through a lot of these. This is Andy Hippolyte and Marie Raffi. They work for Colliers, an engineering firm. So, at that, I'll leave it to you guys. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Andy. Yes, can you use this? Yeah. That'll help you, okay. My name is Andy Hippolyte. Was anybody at the August meeting last year in 2025? Okay, not a lot of people were there, okay. Welcome. So I will give a little summary of that meeting first. That came after that July storm. And after that July storm, there was this panic. So what had happened was flooding throughout town, flooding in multiple areas, a lot of panic of what do we do, why, and a lot of questions. A lot of people have either not seen a storm like that, or it's been so long since we've seen one. Last time Irene was probably the last big one of that nature in 2014. And once you get a few years out, you forget what happens.
Sorry.
Please. Hello there. Good evening. I'll give everybody a few seconds. Because I literally just started, I'll start really again for the people who walked in. My name is Andy Hippolyte from Colliers Engineering Design, Marie Raffay from Colliers. Marie serves as your borough engineer. We serve as the firm that does the engineering. In the August meeting last year of 2025, it was right after the July storm where we had over 5 inches of rain, which caused flooding in town. There was a lot of panic over that. Everybody's like, oh my goodness, I have flooding. I've never seen this before. And realistically, the last time you saw flooding like that in New Providence was Hurricane Irene in 2014, which was way worse. That was like almost 8 inches of rain. The flooding was worse. The borough actually got federal funding to do repairs. Multiple outfalls and structures were completely decimated. That's part of that storm. Some of the areas that got flooded in this July storm, it was nothing compared to what happened to Irene. Irene really decimated. But the purpose of covering the idea of these storms happen over a 30, 40, 50-year period, even farther back. These storms have always happened in New Providence. Just because we weren't here doesn't mean it didn't happen. So what's proof it happened? If you look at, I'll go back to the mic because I get hit. If you look at this map here, and it's on the screens too. So the map there, and you could come, I have no problem if you want to get up and look at it. I'll give you a second. That's the FEMA maps for New Providence. There are 2 little panels that are not on there because there's no flood zones in it. But those are 2 FEMA maps. On the top of that screen is the Passaic River. Anything in blue is a designated flood area by the federal government. Those flood areas going back to even before the Army Corps of Engineers project in the 70s existed then. When the Army Corps did their project, they changed a little bit. But New Providence has a couple of things that kind of bind it. So they have a railroad track that goes through the center, the Passaic River on the top of the map. You have multiple branches of the Salt Brook. The Salt Brook has a west branch, an east branch. It has the main Salt Brook, it has the South Fork, and the center branch. All those branches of the Salt Brook lead to the Passaic River, and they all come from uphill. One comes from Summit, one's contained inside of New Providence, and 2 come from Berkeley Heights, basically. Give them a second. You want to take a picture? You take this. Come up. I want to make is from my perspective, I'm here to try to help and give advice. If at some point you have a question, don't wait an hour, then I forget, and I have to go all the way backwards. Just put your hand up, I'll stop a second and answer your question. I have no problem with that. Good evening. So from a baseline perspective in New Providence, either fortunately or unfortunately, depending on where you are, the federal government designated and shows flood zones in New Providence. If you're in a blue area in New Providence, when we get a storm of the July storm of 5.5 inches of rain, Hurricane Ida, Hurricane Floyd, Hurricane whatever, you're going to get flooded. The federal government's deemed a flood area, it's going to get flooded, it's going to meet the elevations on there, and if it gets worse, it could exceed it, because that's only a 100-year storm.
I think you need to explain the difference between the FEMA flood zone, which is where the water is going to accumulate eventually, versus where the water is going to accumulate during a storm. Because I know my driveway is not a FEMA flood zone. If during the storm, and all those you mentioned, since 1999 and more, we had water in. So there's a difference between the FEMA flood zone data and the storm collection data.
There is. So I'll break it down a little further. So all these FEMA flood zones are designated as flood zones so you can get flood insurance from FEMA or from the National Flood Insurance Program. The rest of the town drains to those areas. So every road, street, and property drains to those areas. So when we get 5 inches of rain, 7 inches of rain, we try to keep the water in the streets. The streets act as a conduit. The storm drains in the street act as a conduit to get it to those areas, which then brings it to Passaic River. Understanding, when we have 5 inches of rain, everything in New Providence has floodwaters on it. Every driveway, every roadway, everything does. Nothing can handle that much rain. A storm sewer system in the state of New Jersey, it's every town, is designed for a 25-year storm. There was a state standard way back before I was even alive. That standard's been carried through to this day. Anything that exceeds that, that system will back up and the roadways carry the water. So 5.5 inches of rain is twice the volume of a 25-year storm. So when you have a July storm, go.
I remember we had culverts put in that was supposed to last for 100 years, like a storm so bad that you would get it once every 100 years. And they put in extra to sustain that.
It's a really good question, because this is one of the biggest misunderstandings in floodplain management or storm history. We'll take the bridge on South Street by OLP. Okay. That bridge is designed to pass the water under the street, the Salt Brook under the street, except for a 100-year storm. It's going to go over that bridge. It's a county bridge. It will go over the bridge. So people go, why would you ever design a bridge that doesn't pass the 100-year storm? Most people don't like the answer, but the answer is reality. Before New Providence was developed, so much water fell in New Providence, whatever that number was, and that water would go downstream to communities downstream of us, whether it's Chatham or Milburn or wherever the water goes. Wherever that number was 50, 60, 70 years ago, it can't be any greater. Because you send more water to them, they'll flood. So they have the ability to say, hey, we knew what we got 100 years ago. We shouldn't get more. So when bridges are designed, there's two criteria. One is the opening can't change to let any more water go downstream than went before. The 100-year thing you're hearing is not the storm duration, it's the lifespan of the bridge, of its structural construction. So when the bridge is designed, it's designed to last 100 years, so the concrete won't erode, and you're not replacing the bridge every 25 years. They design them for 100 years. That's different than the storm ratio.
Okay, this was an additional culvert that they put in that has said would handle that 100 years. So it added on to what was already there.
Where,
Added on. It was, let's mistake your thing, I'm sorry. She's talking about the one on Maple Street, on the train track. What happened was there was a big one, and then the train, the New Jersey Transit did construction, and they made it smaller, which wasn't right. And so the Providence
but when did this happen?
doubled so that it was back to the original. So it has nothing to do with an additional pipe. It's the pipe that was already there, it's just now it's three instead of one. One's humongous one. That's the history of it. I've been here 30-something years. So
I've only been here since 2006. I've been here since 2006. It was 3 pipes always.
I'm sorry, say it again?
I've been here since 2006, it's always been 3 pipes.
I have those.
It has been 3 pipes.
Okay.
But before
I don't know the history of that.
I'll give you the history, because I've been here 30-something years. It used to be one humongous pipe, and then that got smaller because the New Jersey Transit, fixed the track or whatever, and then things happened, and New Jersey Transit added extra ones, so that it was back to the way it was. So it's not an additional one, I just wanna make that clear. There are 3 pipes, they should be there, they've been there since at least 2006. The problem I have is that one of them has been clogged for a while, and it would be nice if that one was unclogged.
Yeah, and the borough has made an inquiry to Transit to clean it, so we're waiting for Transit to clean that pipe.
That's been
Correct.
for like 6 months maybe, so I'm wondering, that would be my question. What are you doing to have them do it faster?
So unfortunately, as you can imagine, we're a Borough of New Providence. Transit is here. They have their own maintenance people, they have their own authority, they're autonomous from us, we have no say-so over them. We make a request just like 565 other municipalities do, and they put it on their list of importance. The borough can keep calling, but Transit has the choice to do what they want. I mean, the borough administrator could talk to that, but there's nothing we could do to force them to do it, and we can't work on that pipe. It's under the tracks.
Actually, I was looking at some easement laws on what the railroads can do and how they're supposed to work with the communities and be very active with it. There are the right-of-ways and that exist, it does exist on the books for them to be involved. They just don't have, they could do what they want to do.
No, but they've said they're gonna clean it. I just, my person saying that is, I can't go down to their office, grab somebody and say, clean this right now.
But
We made our request, just like you make a request here. So when you have an action line here, you make an action line, the borough administrator stacks the action line, and they go do the repairs. Transit does the same thing. It's a much grander level. They deal with 8 million people, not 12,000.
Have we put that request in
Multiple times.
and the response has been?
We're gonna get there.
And is there anything we can pursue to go further with it?
I mean,
I've already talked to,
that I know of, no.
How is it prioritized? Is it just by?
We're not, so you're asking, I'm not New Jersey Transit. I don't know how they do it. All we can do, all the borough can do is make a request.
Okay, but that's something we could find out, right?
I,
Somebody could.
I mean,
it's not me, it's not what I do.
I mean, we have, this is a legit, Finnish society, we haven't brought anything to the attention of anybody?
I'll try to say it a different way.
I,
The borough has made multiple requests. The borough has made multiple requests across their action line with phone calls. The borough is on this every week. Everything the borough can do, they're doing every day. They're making as many phone calls as you'd make the PSE&G if you had a hole in your front yard. It's no different.
And,
So I don't want you to think we're doing nothing. We're doing everything we can.
and is there anything that can be pursued beyond all this effort that the town has done? Because we're wasting a lot of our effort. If, but-
Is your question, can we sue New Jersey Transit?
Can we put
I don't know.
in some fashion?
I don't know.
I talked to, I had a meeting with Assemblyman McCurdy's chief of staff, and I specifically brought up the clogged pipe. I've talked to Senator Bramnick, and I will talk to Assemblyman Carney next week. I'll see him in Trenton. And they're all well aware of the pipe. So whatever they can do, I hope they can do it to move it along.
Yeah.
But Transit's a separate entity and they do whatever they want. So,
Reading the right of ways, there were things that they had requirements to participate.
And again, but you're
They
so
actually have to participate.
But sir, you're missing the point. We know that, they know that. They've said they're gonna take care of it. The disputing part is how fast. So the request was put in multiple times, the phone calls are made multiple times. They have said, we're going to fix it. So they're not saying, hey, it's not our problem. So everything you're saying is true, they're gonna fix it, it's just about how fast they fix it, which I guess if you call your assemblymen and senators, that would help, they have more authority than we do, but
anybody can call them.
the borough can't go under the tracks and work, they can't, there's an active train above it, not allowed to.
Would it help if the townspeople actually called or?
Sure, just like PSE&G. When there's a PSE&G problem in the street, we call. You can call too. Pick up the phone, call Transit tomorrow, say, we got a problem, help us out. The more calls, the better. Doesn't hurt.
Town can't clean the pipes that go underneath the train tracks.
Nope.
So we clog them up, then there'll be retention bases on the south side of the railroad tracks. That's an idea.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that.
Can't?
So the borough, the right-of-way for transit is wider than the slope for the tracks. We are not allowed in that right-of-way, that's theirs.
It's 50 feet.
Yeah, it's maybe more, actually.
Yes, you are. You can ask.
Sorry, I don't wanna argue with it. I know transit very well, I know the authority very well. Once you cross the line, you need permits, you need fees, you need track flaggers, you need stuff, and then if you say you're gonna clean the pipe, they go, okay, what's the structural integrity of the pipe? There's an active train going 40 miles an hour above there. You make a mistake, a lot of people die. We don't go on that right away without permission.
The question is, can we ask for permission if that's the case? Because in part of that right of way gives the community that.
I'm sure you could ask for permission, but then then if they give it to you, you bear the cost of it, so the taxpayers bear the cost of a transit problem. I don't know if you wanna do that.
If somebody gets hurt.
I think the transit thing's derailing us at this point. We're talking about something that's a transit thing. That's not why we're here. Anything else from back there?
Are we submitting questions through the website? Are you gonna go through?
I don't have any questions.
You have.
Oh, okay, got it, okay. Yeah, that was at the end. So we have the questions.
Just one question,
Go.
before someone mentioned something about a 100-year storm, and you talked about it referring to the lifespan of a bridge.
No, I didn't. That's what I'm saying. It's not. One has nothing to do with the other.
That's how it sounded, okay.
No, but the lady's question was back there was, she said a bridge or potentially a culvert has a 100-year lifespan. That's a structural.
Oh, okay.
The 100-year storm is something mapped by
Also, it's
FEMA.
predictive of how often a storm of that size would occur, right?
So the reality of the 100-year storm is FEMA determined in the federal government that the likelihood of a 100-year storm based on some, we'll call it bean counter, is one event in 100 years. In 2025, we had 5.
That's what I.
They didn't change the regulation. That's still the way it's predicted.
Evaluated
No.
what is considered a 100-year storm?
The federal government has not done
Maybe some
that.
of those 100-year storms are now 10-year storms, right?
They have not, the federal government does that, not the borough.
What's the number of inches that a 100-year storm brings?
7.5 inches in 24 hours.
20 months.
Or 3 inches in an hour. And depending on where you're in New Jersey, it does change a little bit, but that's this area. So you have, as we said in the maps, you have multiple branches of the Salt Brook. You have multiple areas that are floodplain areas. If you live in those areas, they're going to flood. In the 70s, the Army Corps of Engineers came in and identified New Providence as having a lot of floodplain areas. They did a major project in New Providence. I had drawn on that map in red some of the stuff they did. They put an entire flume system upstream to catch water coming down from Berkeley Heights. They did improvements to multiple branches of the Salt Brook to concrete line them to move the water through faster. They widened multiple branches of the Salt Brook that weren't concrete lined. They also built the gigantic dam behind the Grove Terrace Park. There's a dam back there. It's Class 2 dam. It's 500 feet long, 15 feet high. That's to take some traumatic storm that if it does come someday, that entire area, including all of that park, the swim clubs, they would all go underwater under this massive dam. The federal government took this project on. It was a major improvement. That improvement is the reason the flooding you have is only what you have, because the streams and dams and areas hold this water where it's supposed to. That's why these maps you see here that are here today are less flooding than New Providence had back in the 70s and before. And that was a federal project. That was federal money spent here. So since then, what has happened? So we're here since 2006. Since 2006, had multiple projects done on Brookside Drive, Pine Way, Ashland Road, Brook Hollow Lane, Grove Terrace, and the Clearwater Dam. There's been major improvements there. Those improvements are well over $2 million. They improve water flow, either out or in, under railroad tracks, around the dam areas, down, get the water to the Passaic River. That was money allocated by mayors and councils way back. In the current day, which Maria will talk about a little bit, before the July storm, every road project is done, and after that has a drainage component to it. So every storm, every time we do a road project, we either fix, repair, or add new drainage on those streets. Any park or playground or field that we did has its own stormwater system under there. Currently, we're under and we will be forever, under the regulations of the Department of Environmental Protection for stormwater management. So back in 2004, the DEP of New Jersey decided that if you're gonna discharge stormwater from your town, which you did anyway, you're gonna pay a fee for it and you're gonna design for it. So when you see a brand-new development come through, doesn't matter, name it, pick it, it could be Lantern Hill, it could be the Bard property. When that development's done designing its development, the stormwater off that property has to be less released than it was before. So there's less water leaving the property than before. So every development that's built provides less stormwater running downstream. The Borough of New Providence is pretty big in enforcing it. We're now going through an entire mapping. We're now going through an entire mapping program for the town. The state has mandated a mapping program, so we have to map
Where do they put that stormwater?
in the ground.
Underground, probably to where?
So it goes underground, one of two things happens with it. So when Lantern Hill builds their detention system, it could be above ground basin or a below ground basin. It holds the water for a period of at least 24 hours and releases it at a rate less than was previously released, plus sometimes includes infiltration into the ground. It can only include infiltration into the ground when the ground has porous soils to allow it. So some parts of New Providence have sandy soils, some don't. The sandy soils will take the water, which is great. The non-sandy soils won't, so they can't design for infiltration. Depends where you are. There's a whole testing protocol for it.
Is there a way to test that it's actually fulfilling?
So they do. So they have to provide data for that every year. So they go through, the people who design them have to provide data, but before they design the system, they have to do a series of tests as determined by DEP to determine whether it is providing infiltration or not. The manual for the DEP storm regs is bigger than my backpack. And they just changed them again, so in July they change again. In July the regs get even harder. In July, the regulations really dive down to affect basically single-family homes, roadway design, road projects. They're making us even do more. They're gonna make a lot more stringent.
You speak a lot about the eastern side of New Providence, over by Summit. I'm curious about what they're doing on the western side of New Providence, down by Central Avenue. What's happening down throughout that whole neighborhood over there? You're talking a lot about that side. What about this side?
So on here, so you're saying on here,
Yeah, from Union Avenue, Central Avenue, Springfield, that area.
This whole area.
South Street. On
this
the
is
other
the
side
line,
of
this
Central,
is
that
the
whole
line,
area.
this is the line portion of the salt
Is
program.
this Springfield or is that
So
Central?
Springfield's here.
This is
Okay.
Springfield, okay, this is Central.
Yep, and this is south.
So
Right.
what is
So
this?
that's
That's the
why-
west branch of the
That
salt
side
program.
of town, yeah.
I mean, other than that side of town doesn't have any map flooding, so other than road programs where we add drainage or fix the drainage, there's no flood control projects being done on that side of
Well,
town.
that's the problem. So here, we have problems on that side of town,
Yes, and what is the
What-
traffic
and for
doing?
years.
So problems, where?
Hawthorne, Central Avenue, Pearl, all around that area, just initially.
It's in
Also, Ronnie Cliff has had flooding.
And these floodings have been numerous.
So on Hawthorne,
Yes,
Hawthorne backs up to the salt road.
yes, one of the
Or
first.
you back up to a floodplain or it should flood.
We're not in a, we
Well,
are
we're not in a
not in a
floodplain.
floodplain. There's been issues as to, the drainage that had come off the bar property when the building was being, proposed as development, which is a nice looking development and everything. But they had 3 illegal entrances to the brook that have still yet been shut off. And the fourth, and with the design of the, bar property, again, it looks great. But that
Again,
water's gonna rush
you have
off.
to entertain me, because
Yeah.
I don't know what part it's on, I don't know what building you're talking about. You have to be more specific. If you're on Hawthorne,
Right.
Hawthorne homes back up to the salt brook, if there's flooding in your backyard, there should be.
Okay, well, it's not flooding in the backyard.
Okay.
It's
In the street?
essentially, the street, the
Oh,
storm.
is there water,
Yes.
if there's water in the, hold tight. If there's water in the street within the curb lines during a storm, when the stream backs up, that's exactly what's
I
supposed to
have
happen.
the video right here with me, if so desired. It goes from Hawthorne all the way to Salt Brook.
That makes
The
sense.
river,
It
the
should.
river,
It
the
should.
river extends from the street to the, brook.
Right, so think about this, if the Salt Brook during a regular day has 8 feet plus and nothing, there's nothing there, it's not quite as high as the ceiling, it's nothing in it, it's designed to take water. Once that fills up in a storm, like it shows on this map, designed by the federal government up in New Providence, everything that drains into it is going to back up.
Correct. I'm not doubting you, I'm not doubting you.
There's nothing the borough can do
Yes.
until
Yes,
that goes
the
away.
issue is when the percolation problem was that for them to develop that mountain up there, that's how the brook came into being. That, what, the percolation of the brook before it was cemented, and the problems that developers were having to build on that side of the mountain, is they had to put percolation in. There was a problem with percolation, the water was not draining, so.
What year are we talking about?
60s.
Oh, 6.
What? Okay, well, you,
There's nothing to do-
I
there's nothing to
wait a
do-
second, let me get my point here. When that was put in, it was put in for the brook, the depth of the brook, the width of the brook was put in based upon what was determined, the cost and then how much runoff they were gonna get on there. The area wide from the side of the greenlands to greenlands was wide enough to put a deeper brook in there, but they choose not to. They conservatively.
It's a federal
That
government, it's a
problem
federal
is
government project. I don't know what you want. What would you like me to do for a federal government project in the 1950s?
Pardon me?
It was a federal government project in the 1950s. We can't, there's nothing I can do to go backwards to change a project that federal, nothing this borough council could do from 1950 to today. So that, we have to work within, with all due respect, we have to work within the limits that are given to us now. That brook, we can't move that.
Yes, but based upon the original design plans of what it could end up handling, for the amount of water that it could handle going down that area, it could have been made deeper. And that was-
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but it wasn't. It wasn't.
Approved at that time.
It wasn't. The federal government decided not to do that. I don't know why, nor do you.
Well, we have the records available. to
No, it's
check.
1950.
I don't know.
Nobody started keeping records in government until the 70s on stormwater. Well, it's not us, it's the federal government. Again, I want to make sure, hold on. This is the Borough of New Providence.
Rightly so.
The borough can do only so much. Stormwater in the state of New Jersey, governed by the state, regulated by the state, either DEP, EPA, or federal government. We are very limited on what we can do. We can't change the amount of flow going downstream to other communities. Our hands are limited. So if your complaint is a federal government project, have at it. Go to the federal government. There's nothing we can do. They're not going to change the Salt Brook in 2026 for that. So go.
Phil, there's nothing can be done.
Right.
About the creek that runs from behind Providence to where it going starts. Those dimensions are fixed by the state.
No, they're fixed by the federal government.
The width of the
And that are
construction
fixed.
project that was originally put in.
They're fixed. To take that may take 10 years of paperwork. The real problem is the amount of water coming down the hill. That's the real problem we face. Because when we flood on Hawthorne, the level of water in the creek gets above the cement line.
Yep.
And once that starts to happen, depending upon location, the drain pipes from the various streets do not out.
Correct. So just so you know, that's the way they designed it to happen. I didn't do that.
Okay.
The federal government designed it that way.
Right, right, right. To prevent that from happening on Hawthorne, Shelley, Cameron, Earl, Jones, I think got flooded. Drycliff, they had to rescue people from a car that was being flooded. Really, there's a need, and this is the question for the town council, there's a need for some type of expert to come in to estimate how much water is coming down in a big storm and to build detention basins
Okay.
south of the railroad.
So you missed the August meeting. So,
Well, I've been ill.
no, I'm not, I apologize for that. But in the August meeting, we talked about the volume of rain and what we need to capture. So if we use a 100-year storm, assuming it fell on New Providence, 7.5 inches of water, New Providence would need to retain 68 million cubic feet of water. So we have to retain enough water to fill MetLife Stadium more than once.
But we're not
No, just you have to understand the volume of numbers, right? So if we were to retain all the words, just say that's the whole town. So let's say we split the town in half, 30 million. 30 million cubic feet of water. The cost to do that, if you could even build it, because the groundwater line's high, so the groundwater in New Providence is at anywhere from 4 to 8 feet. So once you get below groundwater, it fills up.
Okay.
So that means you have to take every house down.
Well, we're talking about the west side,
I'm talking the west side too.
No, you're
The
talking
volume's
about the
massive.
whole town.
No, I just split it in half. You're not listening.
Because the area that affects the creek, by my estimate, was roughly 230 acres.
Okay.
And that was from Union Mountain Railroad tracks and somewhere putting a line down.
Right, so in a 100-year storm, 230 acres is going to be like 10 million cubic feet of storage.
One second. 230 acres, I have no idea.
It's significant. So, but remember again, what you're missing in the bigger picture. So when the Salt Brook went in, when all the pipes and storm drains and roads went in, the design was that the Salt Brook would fill up, the pipes would back up, and the roadways would then take the water. That's even another method for flood storage. It all works as one integral part. They're not separate. So if you're getting, you say to Andy, on Hawthorne Place, there's a river going down my street in a big storm. That's exactly what's supposed to happen. I didn't design it. It was designed in the 50s. No, I care, but I can't, there's nothing I can do to change it.
We're not expecting
Can you, okay, so the streets go up, you said that's as designed. What's supposed to happen with the water that's in the street?
When the brook recedes, the water will follow the path of the brook to the Passaic River. It usually takes anywhere from 10 to 18 hours after the storm's over. And that's, again, designed by somebody 50 years ago.
We're not expecting the system to be, the detention basins, to hold 1 to 2 inches of rain. We're expecting it to take the deluge for a short period of time. And that's what needs to be designed. Is I think there's a need for hydrologists to make estimates of how to handle the 2 to 3 inches of rain in 1 hour.
So so you may not realize this. I am a hydrologist. That was my major in college. So it's a simple volume calculation. You take the air. Hold on, I have a degree in it. You take the volume of water. You take the area it falls over. You convert that to a number in cubic feet. You convert it to gallons, and you store the water. It's as simple as that. So a lot of times from New Providence, we simplify. We go, okay, resident comes in, they put a 600 square foot addition in. 600 square feet is going to run. If you do 3 inches in 1 hour, 3 inches over 600 square feet, put in a 1,000 gallons cubic feet. It's that simple. The problem is when you do your calc, it's 10 million gallons. So where do I store?
I'm talking about above 2 inches.
2 inches is only a 1-year storm.
But I don't think people on the west side of town are expecting things like Ida won't flood.
So here, let me give you a different example because I worked on it. If you go into the north part of Hoboken, almost all impervious area, the north part of Hoboken and North Park floods badly. The flooding there is horrendous. You think you have flooding? They have flooding in the street this deep. It goes in their buildings, under their buildings. Hoboken says, just like you just said, we're going to solve this problem. We're going to bring in this massive company. I won't name the company, and we're going to come up with a solution to this. They did. They put a $15 million drainage system in. $15 million. I can walk in it, put Maria on my head, put Miss Dolan on her head, and we can't touch the top. That's how big it is. You know what it captures? A 1-year storm. Anything higher than a 1-year storm, everything floods this deep. $15 million. That system is as big as Oakwood Park, if you could think of the volume. You're talking about numbers that are so massive. So in New Providence's realm, again, I didn't design it. The Army Corps of Engineers, who have the best hydraulics people in the world in the 50s, came in and said, the best we can do here is we have 5 branches of the Salt Brook. We're going to make sure the roads drain to there. We're going to make sure the curbs go there. We're going to make sure all the storm pipes go there. And everything will flood together. And then other than the blue areas, it'll all run out and go to the Passaic River. And that's exactly what it does, other than a clogged pipe or something that backs up that needs maintenance or gets a root mass in it or whatever it may be. So I don't want to cut you guys off, but I can't argue or belabor something that was designed by the federal government in 1950.
What was the
I have no idea.
Okay, no idea. I'm not that familiar about North Hoboken, so I can't really comment about going out there. There are areas that flood all over the place. We're talking about what we can do here in this town, within our properties, within our boundaries. I'm at the juncture of where the two branches of Saltbrook come together.
What's your property?
For 40 Hawthorne. Right where the two branches come together, the one that's coming from the Bard property, and one that's coming down. Now, as I said before, I've been there for 40 years.
Is your house on it?
It came right, yes,
The water went in your house?
yes.
You had
Yes.
flood insurance claim?
No, we're not part of it.
You can be.
Oh, well, that's fine.
You can enter, you
want
can
the
sign that,
insurance
so
sign?
that's
I'm
fine.
looking for, you want a description of where I am, I gave you a description of
Right here,
where I am. The issue is I've been there for over 40 years,
Okay.
it keeps getting worse, we probably had about 6 or 7 since the time I was there. Now, the neighbors across the street, which have been there from the original, from before the brook was cemented, they can tell stories too about.
I don't want stories, how many times?
The problem is that at that conjuncture, those two brooks there, they've been cleaning the brook. They did religiously and to the best of their ability as they can.
The borough has.
The borough has.
Good job, borough.
Absolutely. But the issue comes down to it here, now they have a pile of about 10 to 15 feet high, probably about 30 feet wide, that right between those two brooks, that has actually put an island right in the middle where the two are, thus causing the water to expand outward. Besides that, that wetland is supposed to continue.
Was that pile there, who put that pile there?
The city,
When?
through the years.
Oh, they don't cart it away?
No, they don't cart it away, and that's not, and the issue comes down to is.
I mean, we can go look at it. I mean, if that, I don't, Bernie, you know about that? I know nothing about that.
Okay, well, it's known fact that the town
Okay.
engineer, they've all, what's his name, has been there a number of times. We get it cleaned up. We've had to stop in the past couple of years because of some issue in regards to what the town can do or can't do in the brooks. But based upon that last teleconference that we ended up having here, that was disputed and was not required. And I think you know what I'm talking about.
I don't know, sir, I've never seen this.
Okay, well, where the two brooks join together,
Okay.
the force of the smaller brook is coming down so fast that it holds up the debris on the main brook.
Oh, okay.
That's okay,
Yeah,
that's great.
so again, there's two branches of the Salt Brook to meet there.
Yes,
When they meet there, if the water themselves are converging and holding each other's up, that's what it's supposed to do. If the dirt pile, I don't know if it exists,
small.
if there's a dirt pile that's interfering with that, we can take it out, it's no big
The
deal.
small brook is holding up the big brook
Could be,
because it's coming down such height.
it could be.
And also because you have those drop-offs I mentioned before off the wetlands that were put in by Bard. Years ago, they're dumping water into, they were illegal, they're part of the minutes of the meeting when the question of Bard property came up in the development. So what was discussed as part of that meeting then?
So Bard's an approved project.
Yes, but
Their
they have
stormwater-
they have illegal
Hold on.
dumping of the water.
Hold
That's
on,
all.
Bard's, no, hold on, no.
Yeah.
Bard was an application to the board.
Uh-huh.
Bard was an approved project. Bard, just like anybody else, has to meet the DEP regulations for stormwater design, including their outfalls. So not only did this borough look at it, the state looked at it. What's there is approved. There's nothing illegal there. If you think there's something illegal, we'll go look at it, but I highly doubt it.
The board member that was there represented the town for the committee.
Well, there's nine
And the
members.
Representative for the owner of the property, Jim Weber, local resident here. We had this discussion, it's on records, and they were.
Whoa, hold.
They were going
What's on
to-
record? It's not, you're trying to put on record that Bard did something illegal, and that probably is not the case. So please
I did
read,
not use the word illegal.
Yes, you did.
It was used illegal by the town.
okay, well, it's not.
Well, I'm saying it is, and that was put in a matter of records, and that's not 50 years old, so the records are there, what was discussed.
Yeah. I can't, I'm sorry, I can't hear it. Hold on. So you have to understand my role. Hold on, I'm just a borough engineer. If you have a house that flooded and you didn't report it to your insurance company or FEMA, the borough doesn't get notified of it because it's private property. So once you report it, the borough gets notified.
Okay, so I'll just tell you
Did you guys file a FEMA claim?
Now, you may not be getting these reports.
No, did you file a FEMA claim?
Did you file a FEMA claim, Robert?
No, because, we have insurance now and a few people with insurance.
But you can get insurance. So listen, as a floodplain manager, which I,
That's a nuisance to do. Maybe there for one
And
day.
it reduces your property value.
know what, listen, if you live in New Jersey, like any other state, has a process. If you live in any zone, whether it's X, which is not shaded, or blue, you can get very cheap flood insurance. If you're not in a flood zone, you can get it and FEMA covers your losses. If not, you go to your insurance company. Listen, I'm a homeowner in New Jersey. If I get flooded by a storm, I file an insurance claim if I'm outside a flood zone, as long as it's water that's coming from the sky, your regular homeowner's insurance covers that. If you didn't file claims, I can't help you with that.
I just want to communicate to you, though, that a lot of those houses on Hawthorne are deep flooded, whether you get reports or not.
Yes.
So the only thing I could do now is when there's a storm, come see it. So you have an action line, the borough has an action line. If you're getting flooded, hit the action line, say we're there, and we'll come look at it. It's private property, so I'm not going to guarantee you what we can do. If the stream is coming up and flooding into your house, you live near a stream. If the road is coming down and jumping the curb and going down into your garage, the borough possibly can do a project to put curb up that's higher and stop that. I don't know what the problem is, but we can look at it. If it's a problem on your property, it's your problem.
Did you put in an action line?
What?
Did you put in an action line?
Yes, and I actually put in action lines to get barriers off on Central, so cars don't go by creating waves. And they did ignore, 2025, they put barriers up about 10 minutes before the storm stopped.
Yeah, that's an OEM, that's an OEM thing, it's not an engineering thing.
For you, but there's been fireworks.
Sure.
Good question. Are you basing a lot of your analysis on that map?
So we have to. The state and federal government require us to do that.
So I'm gonna let you know, that map is 2006. Okay? I'm not in the town that long, that map is wrong.
The only entity that can redo it is the federal government.
And
The borough can't redo it.
I understand that, but if we're paying you guys to come up with something and you're not here for a storm, that map and listening to these other people, anything that you're saying is kind of like, hey, we're putting Band-Aids here and there, and it doesn't make sense because we're basing it on a map that's 20 years old.
So let's peel off what you just said. So a couple things. So what you're paying me for is not to stand here in a storm. That's not my role. You have a Department of Emergency Management, and they take care of storms. If emergency management, who gets paid for that, wants one of us to come out, we can look at it and tell you what the problem is. When it comes to federal maps, unfortunately, we don't have to like it. The federal government produces them. About every 10 to 25 years, they redo them, and then they'll come up with new ones. When they do, we follow them. The purpose of those maps are not for our design. When we design something, we design it to what we're looking at. These maps limit our design, and they say, blue areas we can't touch. Blue areas are going to flood. We can't send more water to the blue areas than currently went there to make that line go any higher or any lower. They give us guidelines to follow. The map gives us guidelines, and then we design around it.
The storms have gotten more crazy.
There's nothing I can do about that.
Governor Murphy a few years ago has raised level as houses can be.
Governor Sherrill just rescinded it.
Governor Sherrill.
Just rescinded it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for correcting me.
Yep.
You could probably better explain it. but-
Met with her last week.
Okay,
They rescinded the whole legislation has been rescinded.
thank you. I didn't know that. There was like this whole thing with raising houses because after storms. Look, I know I'm a little antiguous, but that map is just, it's just not.
It's our baseline. We have no choice. So I wish I had a choice. I don't have. When a developer or your borough engineer go to the DEP, they're going to go to that.
I understand that, and even some, but when you look at South Street or whatever, everyone has videos. The things that we're coming up with are not.
So let me go one step further because you're probably missing one point which I didn't tell you.
It's fine.
So the blue line in this map. Why? What's the blue line? It's going to be flooded, but it's going to have velocity. So the blue line is going to have velocities that are over 2 feet per second. So what's 2 feet per second? If you stood 8 feet away from me, I can't do it anymore, and I threw a brick at you and hit you in the chest, it's worse than that. You can't stand up. Outside of that, that's floodway area, there's floodplain. So going back to the discussion of the streets, when the floodways back up to the top of the brook, the floodplains start to contain water because the pipes and stuff can't take it away. So the map is only identifying, and that's probably the point you understand, the velocity is over 2 feet per second. Because you had a house in it, but you can wash it away.
It's a little tangential, there's more new construction, this ties to everyone, because there's more water. Some of the construction, or residential construction, how do I say, water grab for, you have to have a certain amount, if there's a certain storm, there needs to be a certain.
Yeah, 210 to 100.
You know, downspouts going to a certain, dry well, et cetera. Some of those calculations are not working.
So again, the standards for that are state set. Hold on, the standards are state set. In July 1st of this year, they get even worse. So from a single family home that wants to build 600 square feet to the next barred property, you're gonna have to take the 2-year storm, the 10-year storm, and the 100-year storm and reduce it significantly. So the water coming off your property will go way down than what it was. And that's a mixture between Governor Murphy and Governor Sherrill, and that's being adopted, and they're gonna do that. Currently, the current regulations, which are still have 30 days in play, you reduce the flow for the 2, the 10, and the 100. And that's been going on since 2004.
That is supposed to do that.
No, it does do it.
It does do it?
It absolutely does it.
I live in Woodruff Court, coming off from Livingston, and in our area, it is homemade. The streets is flooding there. 2019, the properties behind us got subdivided, rebuilt on, and the property got raised by 3 to 4 feet high. So this existing draining properties was cut off, and the water comes from the cul-de-sac above Woodruff Court, comes all down before the street was flooding and maybe a little bit the lawn, but it has a great area to expand, and it never was flooding houses. Now, with raising the property 3 to 4 feet, the water cannot drain anymore, collecting all in the cul-de-sac, because the cul-de-sac is a little bit pitched.
What's your address?
11 Woodruff Court. Is a little bit pitched into the cul-de-sac, so now everything fills up and the houses get flooded.
We'll go look at that.
We filed already,
Action line?
please, I will be in contact with you.
Yeah, okay. Bernie, you have an action line on that? Okay, we'll come see, Marie and I'll come see you on that.
Thank you.
Can I just ask one quick question?
Yeah, go.
Just the end of our, closer to the facade on this side, water comes down from, we'll say, Springfield down towards the facade, just because it looks like, excuse me, not the facade, Springfield. Springfield is kind of like built like a berm in a way, if you really think about it.
Yep.
Because the water comes off both sides.
Correct.
Going on the other side of South Street. The water comes rushing down and goes towards, we'll say towards the river, to Passaic. A lot of the, and I know this is potentially not you guys, but it's like a lot of the drains are full and then it stops because there's a cresting in the river.
Are you talking about by the diner kind of area, right there?
No, that is another one that happens as well. That is another one. I could point it out to you if I was up there.
Yeah, come on. This is south. This is Springfield, this is Passaic.
Yeah, no, I think I've seen these before. So when you start coming over here, down here,
That's gonna flow down.
this,
Yeah, the only drains back up here.
all of them, because the river crests up, there's nothing we can do.
The Passaic River, that's draining half of New Jersey. And once the Passaic River floods, so in that big storm, hurricane, if you take Hurricane Irene, once the Passaic River floods, there's nothing we can do. It's just a matter of holding on and planning to evacuate people. That's all you can do.
So, when I was on council, we did a project, de-snagging of Passaic, and I know that trees fall under all the time, and it's Morris County, Union County, Berkeley Heights, it goes all the way up and down. So, and I know this is not your responsibility, but
It is. So one of his, this is a good question. Later on, we're gonna talk about, we'll get to it now, from the future to move forward. Because the borough has limits significant on what they can do. One of the things we can do is keep the water moving. If we keep all the versions of Saltbrook clean, no trees, no debris, no root masses in pipes, if we keep all this stuff, get our inlets clean and make sure they're clean, if we keep all that clean, desnag as much as we can going up to the Passaic River, if the counties would come in and do the Passaic River and keep the logs out of the Passaic River and stop our outflows from blocking up, keeping the water moving means within 18 hours, all the flooding we're talking about goes away. Longest time. It's all gone.
We used to make it Providence, the water in Summit does it, what really have we accomplished?
You have, so the problem, one of the problems this municipality has, everybody sends their water to you. The Passaic water's coming from somewhere else, the Salt Brook's coming somewhere else. If they don't do their job, and I've seen it, when you have a storm, logs, debris, pieces of shed, shopping carts, it's all coming to you from other municipalities. We have no jurisdiction over them. We have to take their garbage, pick it up, put it in dumpsters, and take it away.
But just, I gotta go back to my question, is it a worthwhile thing for Borough of New Providence to do that?
Yes. Yes, the more a consistent clearing desnagging program, which doesn't need a permit from the state. Senator Cardinal passed this legislation back in the 1990s. You're allowed to take trees out, debris out. If there's rocks blocking up, move them to the side. You're allowed to do all that. The more you keep the water moving, the better. So right now, I mentioned before, I'm on a panel with Governor Sherrill because that's one of her 10-point plan as governor. She wants to clear and desnag streams in the state of New Jersey and keep water moving. So we had 9 towns together to talk to Governor Sherrill about moving water through their towns.
Does that include dredging?
No.
We can't touch the Passaic.
You can't dredge any stream in New Jersey without getting a permit.
Can you remove it on the bond as a construction?
Only rocks and trees and things like that.
Hey, just
Yeah.
clarify real quick, because when you.
Hold on, he's asking a question.
When you're talking about clearing, you're not talking about the Passaic, desnagging the Passaic, you're talking about the Saltbrook?
I think I should go back and talk about what clearing and snagging is first. Let's all talk, so we're all talking the same thing. So under this Senator Cardinal,
Before you say that, listen, I just want to ask, I'm not finding this terribly productive. I think it's sort of an area of grievances, in different areas. What's most helpful is understanding what the roadmap is for review.
I'm trying to get there, but
Let me just finish my point. I think everyone would feel a lot better if they understood, look, this is the review, this is the standard for which you can consider a problem. I have no better understanding of what that process is. What needs to happen for an area to be examined, for there to be sort of due diligence done to understand if infrastructure changes should be considered. That is the most important thing that I could get out of this meeting. To understand if something meets the standard of review, and then infrastructure dollars are set aside. There's no question that things have changed. There's certain things that you're unable to do. You can't affect. But the reality is, if there's change, change has to follow change.
right.
And regardless. So it's not good enough to say, and I'm not suggesting you're saying it, but that this is the way it is, live with it, and sort of, just work around it. At some point, you have to respond with change, it's environmental, with structural, with infrastructure, okay, where it's necessary. But I'm not sure what the standard of review is. What moves something from 10th on the priority list up to the first 3, 4, or 5?
So I need from you, when you say review, I need an example.
Okay, what qualifies as significant enough that it's not considered an anomaly, that is an infrastructure priority or project that would be for the benefit of the overall town as it relates to stormwater displacement? So, I think before I came in, I missed, unfortunately, the first 15 minutes. I understand there was some discussion of culverts. Okay, there are certain areas in town where just the sheer volume of water, if it's 6 or 7 inches within 90 minutes, it's just too much. At some point when the storm settles down, which we never know when that is, yes, everything's thinking, if there's more volume that could just hold that off, it would prevent the backup. So are situations like that, that are no longer anomalies, that are the standard when you have significant storms where you have 6 inches in 90 minutes, do those qualify as top priorities, 2, 3, 4 on the list of where you look as a hydro engineer and say, this has to be monitored? We're gonna have people on the ground filming this in real time. You can't be in 10 places at once. So that's really the question. I think understanding the roadmap and what qualifies would be helpful.
In your statement, we'll say, there's a lot there, right? So
Is there?
the DEP, hold on, sir. The DEP governs what we can do with culverts and outfalls and structures, right? So what the state says in the entire state of New Jersey, this goes back pretty far. If you have an existing culvert, like the 3 culverts that run under the railroad tracks,
Excuse me?
like the 3 culverts that run under the railroad tracks,
Yes.
if we wanted to change the size of that, let's say, okay, upstream floods, so why don't we just make a bigger opening through there? Work with transit, make a bigger opening, send water through. So what happens if I send water through? More water. Everybody on that side floods. So now they all flood. If I make a nice, huge culvert all the way up Passaic River, I get the water there, then what happens? Somebody else downstream floods. This pattern of genesis of this storm flooding like this made the state years ago say, nope. All you can do, if you're gonna make a repair to that culvert, is repair it. You have to give us an engineering model that shows when you're done your repair, the water upstream doesn't go any higher than 1/10 of an inch higher or lower. The water downstream doesn't go 1/10 higher or lower, and that's all you can do. So when you see a new bridge, like if the bridge gets replaced at OLP, it'll look exactly like the one that's there. And everybody'd say to me, Andy, how crazy are you guys? Why don't you just make it higher and let the water go under? State of New Jersey won't let us. Can't do it. So I would love for the borough to prioritize making all the penetrations through the railroad tracks bigger. Can't do it. We'll never get a permit for it. We need a permit from the state of New Jersey. They'll never give it to us. What we can prioritize is what we can control. So if somebody says to me, and we're going to look at it, over on Hawthorne Place, all of a sudden now all this water is flooding the street and going in these homes. I haven't seen it. They say it's, I believe it is. We're going to look at it and go, can we do a design there of a street with drainage to prevent it from going in the homes? We're going to look at that. I wrote a note down. That's something we're going to look at. Woodruff Court. We're going to look at that. That's stuff we control. Once we look at it, then we can prioritize it. Does that answer it?
It does.
And if you have specific ones, you say, Andy, I'd really like you to look at name project. We can look at it every year when we sit with the mayor and council. We give them a desired list and say, based on what we heard or we saw, this is what we think you should budget. Keeping in mind, not that it's not my money to spend, hydrology and drainage projects make road paving seem cheap. They're really expensive. I'm not saying we shouldn't do them, but they're really expensive, so they have to be prioritized.
I think one thing that we all walked into is that we here as neighbors have been dealing with this for some up to 50 years. And we've been reporting it, and it's been part of the reporting. We don't want to we don't end up asking for anything more, or haven't asked for anything more, but now finding out that it's a brand new project. The idea of we're all aware of our own property. We don't want to end up making our ratables for flood insurance, to bring ourselves into a flood insurance zone, or to have to declare that we've taken flood insurance. So we will end up eating the sheet rock and flooring replace that has to be done to correct the problems in our own homes. So you have to understand where your neighbors are looking at. They're all trying to take care of their own space and doing their own thing, but looking for a positive result. And it's been reported for years. I mean,
Okay. That's a statement, so okay.
I know, and that's what we're at this point in time. You said you've been here from 2006. As part of the engineer staff, I don't know exactly. There's been many. I'm glad to hear that you've been here for that long period of time.
Yeah. If somebody has a specific problem, we'd love to look at it and love to make a priority list up, which then we take that list with a cost and give it to mayor and council for approval. That's how, again, it's hard sitting here, because it didn't affect everybody, to understand in the last 20 years, this borough has spent over $2 million doing stormwater upgrades. They might not have been on your block, but they've done over $2 million, and they have, in the last 6 or 8 months, they've done another $500,000. And they have more plans for capital next year to do even more. This borough council, unlike every surrounding town around you, spends $250,000 or more every year on stormwater improvements in this community. It's not like this town's doing nothing. They've done a lot for a long time.
Well, that's why, part of the planning is that increasing, being more ratables and sharing the expenses. We've been expecting that that burden will show up in the improvement proportionally throughout the system.
I live in New Jersey. Let's be really clear.
Well,
No matter how many ratables you get, the state of New Jersey keeps taking the money from you. So I'm not in your mayor and council, but it's not like you can just be ratable and you go, wow, I now have $2 million more. State of New Jersey goes, hey, thanks for 80% of that. That's what happens in my town. We get killed by taxes. School taxes alone are disgusting in this state.
I have really minor issues. I live on Laguna Court, we have a storm sewer that goes under the train tracks eventually. The guys that come to check on the storm sewer and never find the clean out, the manhole that cleans it out. So if
DPW?
if I'm not there, they will never, it's like the Keystone Cops. And it's like, this has been going on for 30 years. If I'm
So you
not-
know where it is?
Yeah,
We'll meet you out there, we'll mark it. We'll put a permanent marker there.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not us, it's DPW, but we'll mark it for
I
them.
said, how are you guys not into, we're using GPS, but they still couldn't find it, they were looking in a totally wrong direction. And then the other.
So they are coming, just so you know, so everybody knows here, in the next less than 6 months, there's gonna be people in your backyards with orange vests on and collars on. We're mapping the entire system. It's the first time ever. So the whole, so we will be there. You'll see them. It's a state requirement now, so we have to do it. It's expensive. And we'll put a marker there. It's easy.
Okay, and the other thing was, one night there was a hurricane, I guess, when it was a recycling night. So all the garbage cans knocked over, flowed down to the storm sewer, and there I was, in a thunderstorm, cleaning out all the plastic bottles that were clogging the storm sewer. So, I don't know, just tell people, don't put out your recycling on a garbage.
It's a pet peeve of mine. When you have a storm coming, don't put your garbage recycling out. Leave it in your house.
You stated that the town only spent $2 million on projects.
Over $2 million. Over $2 million.
I don't want this list to include the recent stuff.
No, it doesn't.
2025. What was done?
So I said it before, but I'll say it again. I'll just give you some of them. So the borough did. It was a drainage project on Brookside Drive, one on Pine Way, one on Ashwood, one on Brook Hollow Lane, Grove Terrace, the Clearwater Dam, 2 locations along Grove Terrace where the water diverts to either go down a large diversion path or under railroad tracks. That was all improved. That was a $200,000 project. There was about 25 road projects that included drainage. Maple Street drainage project was done, and there's various other capital improvement projects.
Were any of those on the west side?
That's right.
Yeah. So there was multiple road projects on the west side of town. That included drainage projects. One of the ones would be, which a lot of work was done. There was work done on Union, and there was work done on
Union needs to be repaid.
Pearl. Oh, for your friend, every 10 years, every road needs to be replaced. That's normal. I think we had a grant. Do we have a grant from Union?
Yep.
Yeah, we have a grant coming. Union's getting done. We got a DOT grant. Yeah, it's getting done this year. This year? Yeah, probably 2027. Union. So Union's on the schedule. That's a good thing, right?
Well, it's good for the east side. Now, I have a question on Union Avenue, a lot of work comes down. Where does that water go underneath the railroad tracks?
So it depends if it's coming from above the railroad tracks. Oddly
Yeah.
enough, that's one of the few places that I've walked this. That is one of the few places the water heads to Berkeley Heights. We actually sent some water to them.
Oh, so my estimate.
That's one of the few places. I know, I walked it.
So my estimate amount of water per cubic feet of water coming down
And we did do an improvement, just so you know, we improved that. That was another improvement, that range. We improved that whole ditch along the railroad tracks.
It's hard, because we don't know where the in-drains and flows go. Yeah, because I estimated it was roughly 276 cubic feet per second coming down from Murray Hill areas into the creek on the west side. So I have to cut that by about 25%. I used the equations you used in the Hillview report. And
That's
they
fine.
weren't that hard to use.
That's fine.
On the Hillview repaving, you realize the artificial turf absorbs some water.
A lot of water.
Yeah, but still, the downpour, we're talking the problem is downpours, not the 2-inch or 2 hours type storm. The water, it's gonna be saturated eventually. So eventually it will go to the street, to the creek, underneath Central, into that pit, which generally gets high, underneath the railroad tracks, and flood Crest Avenue and Grant.
Okay, that's a statement.
That also happened with the Bardfield. Bardfield is the heaviest active. So when they crowned it, which is great for drying out what was going, the mud, the water that was staying on Bardfield is now going into the creek. But it was needed there because it needs to dry up inside the creek. So when things are done to improve, let's say recreational activities or other activities, there has to be someone looking at the consequences of where the water's going. Because if we fix all the pipes on the east side of town, it's just gonna be sending more water down the Salt Brook.
Is from a, I don't know about Bard. All the turf fields in town, when you do a turf field, you fall under the same guidelines of the DEP regulations as a developer. So once a turf field is put in, it's gotta handle 7.5 inches of rain in 24 hours, store it below the field and release it slower than it went out before. So that's all designed to let it out slower.
But I think the issue isn't 7 inches of rain in 24 hours. It's the 2 to 4 inches of rain in 1 hour.
That water never leaves there. That water goes right into the ground. That water doesn't even make the stream. If you can go to the outflow for those things, the water doesn't, it'll store all that water.
I don't think that's true because
I'm telling you it's true.
during Ida, we have to move our cars from Northland Drive to higher ground. So we end up walking home from the fire department area and the water, which passes the soccer field. The water was up to our knees for most of that walk.
But the Hawthorne Drive's above the soccer field at the high school. It's higher.
No, no.
It's almost, the whole area is about the same elevation.
It's a little higher. We can look at it. I don't have we haven't have elevation on it. It's a little higher. I mean, remember, water flows down the hill. It doesn't flow.
That's right.
There's no elevation.
They used to have an elevation there.
213.
I have nothing to decide. Not enough. But, I mean, Springfield Avenue is higher.
Yes, we know that.
So Hawthorne's on that side, so it's, even if it's a foot, it's gonna be higher. Does the stream, again, I asked you this before, does the Salt Brook ever make it into your house?
The west side, yes.
Yes,
You get water, the Salt Brook comes into your house?
yes.
Well, the west side Salt Brook comes in.
No, that's not what I said. Does the Salt Brook leave its banks and go into your house? That means it's gonna flow, like water go right through your front door and right out your back door.
That's a complicated question. Because the storm drain's not draining. How do you consider the water? Is it essentially, should be in a salt creek or not in a creek? I think what happened on Briar Cliff, that was definitely a creek. In 2025, a person had to be rescued on Briar Cliff from a car, and the police and fire department.
Listen, you've seen it, I can't dispute you. If you have a storm, if you want us to come look at it, I wrote it down, we'll come look at it. Next time there's a storm, we'll come look at it.
There had to be a rescue.
Can you, thanks for your advice, can you show us what the issues are and what your plan is going forward?
Yes.
Yes.
That's it.
Do you know the list of, Marie has the list of future improvements we have, at least recently, coming up.
So excuse me, we have some improvements that you guys have witnessed over the past year as a result of that July 14th storm. Your mayor and council have authorized the expenditure of about $500,000 to do work on the Deerfield flume, cleaning out, removing debris, tree removal. They cambered some of the pipes, the storm pipes. There was channel cleaning that was done in Livingston Avenue, South Street. Storm drain repairs down on 3rd Street. We were cleaning out some right-of-ways, easements that people had let things encroach on. Other storm drain repairs down on Pittsford, Springfield. We video cameraed some other streams and outfalls. And there was a cleaning of the 4th Street outfall. All that was done, plus some desnagging that was done on Maple Street. So the mayor and council have decided to put aside approximately $250,000 for the next year to work on some pipe replacement, maintenance. Anytime we do a road repair, we're working on your storm drains as well, making sure that the heads on top of the storm drains are keeping the debris out. I know somebody had sent in some action line about landscapers putting in grass in the street. You know, I mean, I think we would all agree that, you know, let's all be good neighbors, right? Make sure that if your neighbor's doing something, you're like, you know, I don't think that's such a great idea. I think we need to clean that out. I think we need to make sure that they're not putting their recycling out the night before a storm. I think that's a great idea. You know, sometimes we just need to, you know, help the leaves that are going in the street. You know, we all gotta be team players on it and use our heads to make sure that those kinds of things get cleaned out. So, some of you that maybe have a house that backs up to one of the streams, I know, you know, it might feel like I'm gonna take my extra firewood and I'm gonna put it back there, or I'm gonna take, you know, some pieces of wood from my last deck project and I'm gonna put it out back by the stream and get it out of the way. Those kinds of things, when that river rises up, that's gonna take all of that stuff and take it floating down the stream. And what ends up happening is it clogs up other people's properties. You know, as we talked about before, about how you can't put more water to a downstream area because you're gonna damage somebody else. It's the same kind of thing. So we wanna be good neighbors to everybody. You know, if you keep that in mind, that will go a good distance too. Some of the desilting wouldn't happen so much if we didn't put our things in the area that might be flooding.
And a couple of the priority projects for this next coming, like, say, 2 to 5 years, is continually clearing and snagging the salt rock. Because we can control that, we can get in there, take the trees out and debris. Policing our easements, our stormwater easements. So our stormwater easements are all throughout your backyards and stuff, and everybody uses them as their yard, they're not your yard. They shouldn't have sheds on them, wood piles, constructed dog fences, dog runs, nothing should be on there. It's flood area, so policing them is another project. Our outfalls are all mapped. We're gonna be inspecting them every year for clogs in those outfalls. So the outfalls are where it exits and goes to a stream. So the plan is to inspect those and make sure they're clear and free of debris. We're working with DPW to have a system to go around and inspect inlets on a routine basis to determine where clogging is. If an inlet's clogged, you can't take water. If you see them, please put an action line on it. But we also find, and we covered it, I don't know if it's you folks, people are putting their leaves, their garbage, their grass into our inlets, and it's causing problems for you. So if you see it, tell us right away. The other thing I would tell you is where you're against the Passaic River Salt Brook, if you see your neighbors loading up that area with stuff, whatever it is, call us. We'll send zoning officer, not us, we'll send the zoning officer out there, we'll get it all moved, it doesn't belong there. It's just gonna become debris that clogs something up or it becomes dangerous to people. So the bulk of our projects, so like road projects and drainage projects that Marie's talking about, is gonna be keeping the river flowing and enforcing our easements in areas that people are abusing and causing problems to all of you.
You know, I think that was a good point. I don't think we adequately talked about all this money that's being spent or is actually like on projects. That's not necessarily the DPW that's going out and, you know, popping a manhole or, you know, cleaning out an inlet, which they have to do regularly. Every year we have to report to the DEP how much they pulled out of inlets, how much they cleaned out, how many they looked at. So we work with the DPW to make sure that they've been doing that on a regular basis. All those funding that we were just talking about that the mayor and council put aside for flood protection, That doesn't include all of the maintenance that the DPW is doing.
The
on a
borough
regular
has, the
basis.
borough has money aside every year for inspection of inlets, inspection of outfalls. We inspect it, or DPW inspects it, we report it and get it clean. Your borough does one of the best jobs of any community in this area doing
I
it.
feel like a lot of times some of these will be cleaned out and then they get clogged again, right? Like, talk about, why does that happen? How fast does that happen? Every time there's a bad storm, right, like you said, all this debris gets pushed back in. So something could have been cleaned yesterday and there's a storm today and it's back tomorrow. How do we stay on top of that?
So, it's a hard issue, because most of the debris that clogs inlets comes from residential homes. The residents either have their garbage out and their can tips over, or they have their leaves piled up at the curb in the storm, or they're putting their grass clippings in there, or they have a whole bunch of stuff on their property that's not stabilized and runs dirt off and clogs it. It comes mostly from residential properties. And it's something, it's an enforcement thing that, listen, if you have a resident who's doing stuff like that, report it to us, we'll enforce it. It's just hard. The zoning officer can't spend his entire day going around looking for people doing stuff like that. We rely on you guys to help us with that.
Is there anything planned for Maple Street flooding under the railroad trust?
We did a project there once. There's this clog of this one pipe, which we're working with transit to get cleared. Other than that, there's not a lot more we can do there. So why? Because that's the low point before it goes under the tracks. So if we were to do something there, the next thing could be, let's say, building a massive detention basin there. We need an individual permit. If we started that process now, take 10 years, the state may not give it to us because of some wildlife that's in there. It affects New Jersey Transit, and at the end of the day, its impact may be a 2-year storm. We don't have enough property to do anything there. So it's a natural low point.
What was done previously?
Ed's paved it, added some drainage to try to get the water off the street faster after a storm. So the idea is that there'll be less flooding, so when the storm's over, it'll get the inlets and pipes quicker. But we have to get that pipe clean. The lady's pointing it back. We have to get that one pipe clean, so there's 3 pipes flowing under the transit. But that's an area, when it rains, it's going to flood. It was made to flood. And that's what it was made to do.
In regards to the,
Hold on, these two go first. You had a lot.
Okay, so, okay, so you were talking about falling trees. There are a lot of dead ash trees in town, and maybe other trees. And like along the railroad track behind Lavina Port, and PSE&G comes every year to cut down trees if they're gonna hit the wires.
Correct.
But they don't care, they're not checking, or the town should, or somebody should, check the trees that are dead as a doorknob and are gonna be the things in the border lines.
So if they're on our property, we can do that. If they're on private property, we can't. So the ones that are on our property, if our guys see them, they'll address them. If they're not on our property, we can't address them. If you guys see them and you think they're on our property, put an action on them, we'll look at them.
We have a program, our DPW does, and if we do get notice, any action line for a dead tree, if it is in the borough property, our DPW does.
Right.
What about PSE&G, can you know, talk to them and say, hey, you got a lot of trees, and don't just worry about the electric lines, they're falling into our water.
So PSE&G is governed by the Board of Public Utilities. So what's that mean? If they're to have a tree program and they take more trees down than they should, the ratepayer for electric pays for it. So the Board of Public Utilities tells them, if this is the tree and this is the wires up here, cut it there and leave it, you're not paying for that. Because you pay for that, the whole state of New Jersey pays for it. So the only one that can give them direction is the BPU. We've talked to them about things from trees to just repairing potholes to trenches, and they're off authority.
Also, the borough has a community forestry program, and we are working with arborists now to do an inventory of all the trees in town. So,
The lady in the back.
We're supposed to put the leaves in the fall on the street for collection. So when it rains,
On the street or on the property?
Pour down the street into the
In the property, right?
drainage sewers.
So the leaves should not be in the.
They're supposed to be on your
more than
grass.
24 hours.
Yeah.
Well, the wind comes and it ends up on the street and it goes into the storm
I mean,
sewer.
the more diligent you can be with your leaves, the better.
I put my leaves in the street about 10 years ago prior to the collection, and the next day I got a notice of pulling out of the street. I had to break them back into my lawn.
Yeah.
We do have someone that does go around and check, but unfortunately they can't.
Also,
Every
does
single person.
DPW have a regular scheduled maintenance to check the
Yes.
storm drains?
Yes,
They
they
go
do.
around on a regular basis?
They do.
To clear them?
It's a long process, there's a lot of them, there's thousands of them.
So I just want to real quick, so we were talking about, mapping all of the inlets now, right? So that's something we're gonna be doing.
Inlets, pipes, and manholes.
And I think one of the enhancements we talked about on the committee was, now, once we have all that mapped, kind of communicating, where we are in the process of what's being cleaned and, you know, what's gonna be cleaned next, right? So that we have more communication to the public. So if you're on a street that's, you notice is clogging up, it may have been cleaned a month ago or 2 months ago, but there was a big storm, now it's clogged again. We need to know. That's the communication that we need to get from the public, put in an action line. And so we're gonna try and do a better job of, like I said, communicating or having that communication with the public of what these inlets are, what's been cleaned, and what we're going to be cleaning next. Things like that.
So you have, unlike a lot of your surrounding municipalities, you have a GIS program. So they have a program that can accept mapping. So when we're done with our mapping, you can take it and add to that program, add an action line item to that, and then be interactive and say, clean, 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 to be clean, to, it'll be, by early next year, you'll be able to do all that.
So to talk real quick, 'cause I know we had this conversation, you know, how many DPW, 13?
13.
13 DPW employees, literally could probably be full-time cleaning inlets.
Right, so it would have to be full-time.
Right.
If you wanted to have them out there every day, your best eyes are in this room.
Well, I just wanna make sure it's clear that people understand.
Can you stand
Our
up and
DPW
talk to us?
Sure. We have 13 DPW members, right? So they go around throughout the entire year cleaning the inlets, right? So what we talked about with the committee was, doing a better job of communicating to the public of all the inlets that are being mapped, what's been cleaned, when they've been cleaned, what's gonna be cleaned in the future. They get clogged, we can clean them tomorrow, and there'll be a storm in 2 weeks, and they can get clogged again. So we want the public to let us know through their action lines if that happens, so that we can prioritize whether or not we have to go back and do another cleaning. But I just wanted Andy to mention, because when he was talking to us, he's worked with other communities, they have full-time employees that do this all year long. With 13 DPW employees, we can't do that, right? So we were just talking about, you know, how do we attack it? And it's one of the enhancements that I wanted to make sure that we mentioned, for the future with the stormwater committee.
Yeah, I'll just add, I think the public education is really important. I mean, you talked about the fact that if you live in an area that floods frequently, you're probably more conscientious about checking your storm drains and making sure that nothing is preventing the water from getting where it's supposed to go. But there's probably just as many people in town who aren't doing that, and they should be. And maybe some people are just carelessly leaving stuff in the street when they know there's a storm coming. And so there's a whole public education effort that we plan to also implement. And one of the components is called Adopt a Drain. So I guess our next newsletter is going to include that, where you can actually volunteer to be the one to monitor the drain in your area. And it, you know, gives you a sense of ownership of trying to take care of the town. So that's going to be coming out.
You won't get a sign, so.
What's the salary for that
Salary,
position?
it's peace of mind.
Peace of mind, yeah.
Yes.
One thing I will say is that these landscapers are brutal. They will blow every piece of grass, any debris down that storm. If you see that, report it to us. That's the only way you're gonna stop it. When I was a UPS driver in town, I used to stop landscapers all the time. What do you think you're doing here? See you again, I'm gonna report you. It really has to. Over by Maple Street, that Claw Pike, it's all garden debris and stuff. You know what? Maybe our thing is, I talked to the chief about putting a portable camera there to see who the offenders are. This is crazy. A lot of it we create ourselves. And people just get lazy or they're not affected, so they don't care.
Right, most properties, when we get called for a drainage complaint, most properties we got to have, I can't tell you how many violations they have.
Yeah.
I'd like to suggest they adopt a road blocking software program. And deputizing of the use of that, as somebody else pointed out, with getting a roadblock out there ahead of time is helpful.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
the wood barriers are exactly that, they're wood. So when DPW would put them out beforehand, they float away. Well, I'm just explaining why it doesn't happen the way that you want it to happen.
I've lived this Maple Street
We understand.
through the years.
Yep.
And what you speak about getting the tidal wave that pushes the water, it hurts. It hurts my in-laws. And I'm surprised they're still here. So I think that advanced tracking for that, and maybe it's a flood spot, put a permanent key that comes down. That you just pull a pin out, drop it down, and say, hey, don't go down.
That went on
You
Jan-
can warn it.
in July.
You can put a warning system.
That, nobody even expected that. That came out of nowhere, and it just sat. I mean, Bernadette and I were out putting barricades up. It was that fast, so.
Finally?
Sorry.
Thanks. Question, high-density housing, commercial properties. And I'm very happy you mentioned that they have to report on an annual basis how well their retention basins and things are working. All the new construction in New Providence, new homes, based on a certain amount of square footage, you're gonna have to put those in. You don't have to do that on the residential side. You do.
Yeah.
You do.
It's gonna be worse as of July 1st too.
How, do residents know that?
Oh, yeah, I know.
And
That guy sitting right in the front row was mad at me when I made him do it.
with, what's the enforcement of that, number one? And number
Well,
two,
it's done through building department. So when they come for a building permit, Keith Lynch, your zoning officer, determines if there's over 600 square, I think it's 600, 300 square feet? 1,000 square feet. If it's over 1,000, he sends it to Marie, she reviews it for storm drainage.
and in your opinion, based on, New Providence better than most of us, the clay soil here.
It depends where you are. Some areas are like
Some
that.
areas, but for the most part, I would assume that they're just holding water. They're just water tanks and they need to be pumped out.
So if they have a clay area, they have to do a soil test. If they have a clay area, they got to design a system that's shallow. That's above. The system's got to be designed above the high water table. And that gets expensive, but they have to do it.
Well, this will show, I guess, when people submit their,
Correct.
whether it's working or not.
Yep.
And another suggestion, I'm gonna take what Dr. Bob said, when I was on council. We probably pave 20% of our streets every single year, so
Yeah.
within 5 years, you pave the entire town. Can DPW check every pipe that's underneath that street? We've had over the years some collapsed pipes that we've repaired very well. And you mentioned DPW is doing some kind of preventative maintenance going forward. Within 5 years, you can almost check every single line in town. if you were to-
So they do Anthony Carnival through your
Yes.
sewage treatment plant. When you do a road program or we have like a reconstruction, we video the storm and sanitary lines to see the condition. The reason we do that, granted, is to help the condition and fix repairs, is we don't want to pave a brand new road that have sinkhole appear. So that institutes a lot of repairs on both storm and sanitary. So that is done. But as you realize, these lines were put in 75 years ago. Just because it's good today and we video it looks great today, doesn't mean it's not bad tomorrow. So it happens.
But that's not every time the street is paved. right?
Every time the street's paved, we video it.
You go down and somebody.
With a camera. We put a camera and look at sanitary and storm sewer. Every paving project and every DOT road reconstruction project. Every year, if we've been doing it way before 2006. The borough owns their own camera, everything.
Marie, just wanted to comment to you and to the council members and express some of the frustrations on the west side of New Providence. We don't hear anything really being done for the west branch of the Salt Brook. We'd like to see something done on our side of the town also.
Okay. As I said, I said that before, well, you know, we can come down and look at your property, I think you and your neighbor on Hawthorne.
The whole area, there's a number of people.
Earl, Kelly.
Yep. We'll take a look.
I mean, if you want to meet us there and walk us around, show us, we'll show you. I mean, we just did a bridge over there not that long. It's a brand new bridge across the Salt Brook.
That was by the pool, that's totally different.
I'm just saying, we've been on that side of town. We've done multiple road projects.
And Marie, the Union Avenue work that's being planned, that will have a stormwater element to it as well, right?
Yep, yep,
Is that-
absolutely.
That's where that water's coming in?
Yes, yep.
The water above, we want to keep above the tracks, because that goes to Berkeley Heights.
Yeah. There's a council person from Berkeley Heights in there.
That's okay. No offense, it's where it goes.
No, I mean, you know,
I didn't put it there.
you gotta share.
So, would it make sense to have a follow-up to this in, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months?
If you would like, it's, I mean, so I would tell you, it's not for me to plan, the follow-ups, you request it through the borough administrator. I would say, if I had to take a guess on a follow-up. So think about this, between now and the end of the year, we're gonna fully map the entire system, so you're gonna see a lot of people around town and in your backyards. In that same time, we're doing a lot of cleaning of the storm systems. In that same time, we're doing clearing the snagging of the streams. None of this is easy. It's gonna take time. So I'd say if we're gonna do a follow-up, I say let us finish that stuff. We have some projects Marie and her team are currently designing. I would say the follow-up maybe in January, February, like after some of this work's done, and we can show you tangible effects of it. That's what I would do it. I think by then you might have the action line item, the mapping that shows how the cleaning of the inlets is taking place, and kind of like a live interactive map.
Will that mapping be made available?
Public, yeah. Or it's gonna be, it has to be made available to the public. Has to be made available to the public.
It's on the borough website. Everything will be on the borough website.
Yeah, so the mapping is being, the mapping has to be made available to the public by state regulation.
Would there be someone considering, being in town from your group or cameras to when these storms happen? Like, some of these storms, I know, we don't know.
No, so
One last July,
let me explain my position, our position. So we're a consultant. Bernadette calls up, tells us to come do a job, the borough pays us for it. So if the borough wants us to come stand out, which I don't necessarily think is the best use of money, and just watch storms, you're gonna pay per hour to do that. So I would say the borough has staff that's on staff, they have a DPW who's salaried, they have a zoning officer and building department who are salaried people. I think they are competent public officials who, if there's a storm, fill your action line request out, DPW goes out there, building department goes out there, they go out there and they take live video and pictures or get yours. Once they accumulate it all, then they can get it to us and we can do the professional evaluation of it. We don't need to see it live. We need to see somebody who's actually saw it live and can relate to us what it is. So when I apologize a little bit. When I ask you, did the water from the Salt Brook go in your house? That's very important. I have a reason why I'm asking that. So if it's coming down the street and jumping the curb, or going from your grass and going into your house, that's very different than the Salt Brook intruding upon your house. I have a community somewhere else in New Jersey. It's a school. It's a brook. It's called the Overpack Creek. When we have a storm, the school goes to the doors, opens up the back doors. There's a hallway that goes 200 feet. They open the front doors. It goes right over the curb, right street, and goes right through the school. I could come up with a solution for that. I just need to know somebody needs to tell me what it is, and we'll come up with a solution. So in your case, if you have water from the Salt Brook coming in your house, get to the action line. Bernadette will have DPW show up there. They'll get some live video and pictures, and then we'll regroup as professionals with the town and come up with solutions. Keeping in mind, stormwater solutions are really expensive. I'm not saying they shouldn't be fixed. They're expensive, so the borough council needs to sit and go, okay, the gentleman had I don't know, what's your name? Nima. He had a great question. Andy, you prioritize it. We want to prioritize, but we need to know what they all are. Then we sit with the borough council and we go, you know what, Nima gave us this one. This one's really bad. We think you should do this first. And how do we prioritize? So how? Do you know how? We look for risk. We're risk averse. Risk averse means, where is the public health and safety most dangerous? Most dangerous is death. Somebody is going to die with this incident. Number two, somebody will get injured with this incident. Number three, personal property will be damaged with this incident. Number four, it will infringe on personal property, restrict their access, but not damage it, injure anybody, or cause loss of life. And that's, we kind of step it down. There's really kind of regulation of FEMA, and we step it down, and we'll give them a recommendation. And that's how we do that. Sometimes, and we've talked about Maple Street, I wish I had an easy solution for you. The solutions we have are in the tens of millions of dollars. I don't know, what's the annual budget in New Providence? Right, so you probably couldn't do it in one annual budget. I mean, and then the problem with a project like that is it's going to cost significant money and then cost significant DEP permits. And the DEP is gonna take 18 months just to deem it complete and probably 5 years just to review it. The largest project of that nature, like this one we've ever done, was in Roselle. It took the DEP 10 years to approve it. And the project finally got done. I'm not saying it shouldn't get done. I'm not saying we shouldn't plan it. I'm not saying we should do it. But in the meantime, things like barricades and maybe OEM has some type of maybe automatic system or things we could do in the meantime to warn people ahead of time so there's not loss of life. That's what we don't want. If that makes sense.
You said something interesting about how projects are prioritized. Safety, human life, not the list.
Number one, lost human life is number one.
In July 2025, there was a rescue on Rycliffe, and at the same storm, there were problems at the daycare on Central. So that may be something about that area needs to be looked at and studied.
So part of those problems were, and I can't fix human reactions. So when there's going to be a storm, the last thing you should do is leave your house and head to areas that are low. So when there's a storm, the first thing you need to do in your head is go, where's the high point? Does my house get flooded by the stream? And if it does, get out. That falls upon the shoulders of you. We can't police you. The people that got flooded in the storms went into the storm, into the low areas.
Daycare does not have that option.
Yeah, they do.
Where?
The daycare can close their business for a day and send their people home. They're allowed to do that. They have that option.
storm was a surprise, and I think a lot of
It wasn't that much of a surprise. I knew it was coming. You know, just turn the news on and know a storm was coming.
It was a surprise, the man said it was a surprise, and we watched it, and we ended 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and it went for 2 hours.
Listen, nobody here, mayor, council, me, you, nobody here is weather predictors. Turn on NJ.com, that's the best news source you got for weather. That's what I have to tell you. You have to do it.
You said they shouldn't have sent the kids to daycare, and then you said, oh, we can't predict the weather. What is that?
So I'll say it a different way for you.
Okay.
So when you have a day where you think a storm's coming, there was no surprise that a storm was coming that day. They just didn't know where it was going to hit and when. If you operate a business, you have to make a decision for your business. The mayor and council doesn't do that. You don't do that. I don't do that. That's their decision.
The predictions that day was not bullshit.
Nobody here controls that. I'm not sure where.
So my office, Springfield Avenue to Presbyterian Church, if there's gonna be a storm, my patients get a call saying.
Right, they close it.
We're going to reschedule.
He closes it.
It's that simple.
Right.
That is a problem there.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do about that?
Crazy.
I have a question. I think it's great that the mapping is being done. I guess I expressed that years ago. I'm glad, very happy it's being done. So this is my question. How are you doing the mapping? Is it based on
GIS.
memory of where things are?
Global position.
What is global position?
Satellite position. It'll be accurate to 1/1000th of an inch.
Okay, so.
Vertically and horizontal.
There was a pipe put in 30 years ago, but now it's been gone because the trees and roots have eaten it, but that positioning thing is going to find that pipe? Because I know there are things that.
No, you're confusing too. So the mapping is to locate inlets with respect to satellites, locate manholes with respect to satellites. Hold on, you have to listen for a second. Locate inlets, locate manholes, go down and get pipes, diameters, and directions. And we're gonna show the connections and where all they go. The DPW, along with Anthony Carval, over time will video and check all the conditions you're talking about. That's the second part.
Things that were put in 30, 40, 50 years ago, and then over time have not been checked, maintained, and things happen, rot.
Once the mapping is done, the DPW is gonna take that mapping and over time video check every pipe to see what the condition is.
Andy, I have a question, because she brings up a good point. There's a lot of people that have put illegal pipes in. They never got permits, they put them in, now they've collapsed, and they're complaining they're not draining. And it's on private property,
We don't check those.
and we can't check.
We don't check
those,
those.
right?
We only check our pipes. So if we, let me make sure, because I'm not sure you understand what I'm saying. When the mapping is done, we will have the location of where all the pipes go. The next step is to actually send a camera down those pipes and assess the condition of them. That's another whole project for 2027.
I get that, I don't think you're understanding my question.
I don't understand that, I'm sorry.
I was calling to a neighbor that's been around longer than I have, and they were telling me how they remember that they used to be a pipe, but now it's gone. And it just, I put that in my head, and while you were talking, I thought, oh, I wonder if they'll catch during the mapping that there was an.
I can only catch pipes I know where they are.
You don't
You're
catch.
talking just about.
I can only catch pipes if I know where they are.
Right.
If they're gone, I can't, there's nothing I can do about that.
What's the criteria you're using to, do you have old maps? We have old
No,
maps.
they're not.
Did you get the town information from?
We have some old maps from the Army Corps, but they're, right. But they have to be, if they're not connected, this might sound very simple, but it is. When I have an inlet in the road or a manhole, we open that up and we look in and we see 3 pipes coming in there. We go find them. We find out where they go to.
No, we understand that.
So that pipe that somebody says may not be there, if it's there, we'll find it. Once we find where it goes, we'll find this end and we'll find that end. Once we find where it goes, then we send a camera through it.
But you stop, if you see a pipe going into there, then it goes on private property.
If it's going into private property, but it's ours, if we have an easement, we'll continue on it.
Not a white PVC pipe.
If it's a white PVC pipe, we don't touch those. If what we should do, but we wouldn't, we should disconnect all those. They're all put in illegal, most of them. But we won't.
So sub pumping from basements going out the street should go out to the surface or should go to the sewer?
That's a sensitive issue.
It's moved on Maple.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That's controlled by zoning, not by engineering.
Where's it supposed to go?
I don't know. In New Providence, I don't know the answer. So the sub pumps from a basement are dealt with in the building department, not the engineering department.
Because I don't wanna do anything illegal, like if.
Go to Keith Lynch. Go to Keith Lynch for a permit for it. You need a permit for it.
No, I mean, it's already been, when I moved into the house, how do I know if it's illegal or not?
Well, where it can't go is the sanitary sewer.
It can't go into what?
The sanitary sewer. That's very illegal. So it's either gotta go to a seepage pit in your backyard, an inlet in your front yard, or onto your grass. The water in your basement's your problem, you have to deal with it.
Where are the 3 places?
Inlet in the street, you need a permit for that. On your grass in your yard, out to your grass, or in a seepage pit put, or some type of seepage system put in your yard.
What's an inlet? You said inlet?
Yeah, and so when you go those grates, the grates in the street,
Oh.
storm drains. They're actually called, storm drain is the 50-year-old terminology, it's now called an inlet.
That's fine. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? So then we'll,
I have a small thing to bring to the town's attention. Online, the most recent flood insurance risk maps, the FIRM, they're only partially available on the town website. It only shows the east half, not the west half.
so you shouldn't get them on the town website.
Okay.
So the FEMA maps you see on the screen, FEMA.gov, you should go there. You go to find my property, put your property address in, and put it in and it'll tell you what's on it. You should use their mapping, they have the most current map.
I'm just telling you, the FIRM map is only posted on the town website for the east side.
It shouldn't even be on, you should take it off. Burn it, we should just take, that shouldn't be, I should give the link. Yeah, we should remove that, it shouldn't even be on there.
Actually, this may be more directed at the mayor. A problem on the west side of town is, well, the problem really is excessive development. Because when that creek on the west side of town was put in, most of the things between railroad tracks and Central were houses. And the land south of railroad tracks was not fully developed. The
I'm not for high-density housing anywhere in town. This is court-ordered stuff.
It's actually,
So, I worked, with Toll Brothers over there. I got 23 units knocked out, they lowered it a story, and they're gonna abide by the RSIS
Yeah,
regs. There's
your
nothing
current,
I
your,
can do.
so high density housing comes back from the eighties in the Mountain Laurel cases.
well, I don't want
Your
to
last-
I'm talking about what is south of the railroad tracks. There's some land available for development.
Where?
On Union Avenue to the south of, Vertical Farms. There's some lots that are privately owned, there's some that are.
That's all wetlands.
The teapots, right?
The T-lots.
No, I'm not, I don't know if you get.
That's what they're called, the T-lots.
Yeah, they're all wetlands.
It's all wetlands, we can't touch them.
We look at putting a golf course there with Burke.
Yeah.
A part three.
Yeah, it's true. That's actually true.
Yeah.
Can you make pits?
It's uphill.
Excavate?
It's uphill.
Cover, as they called it? You-
No, if it's wetlands,
Right along there?
no, if it,
50 feet from that?
you can't do
It's
any,
New Jersey Transit.
you can't do anything in wetlands. You cannot build drainage basins in wetlands.
Well, when we had the DEP up here before, when they were looking at the property of Central Avenue, they talked about basically, easiest term is cut and cover. You can move it around as long as you replace what you have.
I don't wanna sound like a wise guy. I met with the DEP commissioner last Thursday.
Okay.
Good luck with that.
Well, does that for policy, does the policy, because you know the regulations.
The regulations don't allow it. You need an individual permit. So individual permit, they don't have any time frame and they can make up the rules.
Well, we had the power company, the PSE&G here in town. We had the county, with Gambier. We had members of the state from the Department of Environmental who was up working up at Lucent. Is that we were looking at what could possibly be done with the Central Avenue property as you head toward the river, where the power lines crisscross. And he talked about pocket fields that you can move it in, you can end up moving, you can move it around, and the DEP would be amenable to end up moving it around. So if I use something like
The
that,
power
you could-
company has special regulations with the DEP for development on their property for the purposes of providing power across the United States. It does not apply to us.
No, but when the state came in here, when the county was here, when the parties were here, I'm sorry, this was like 20 years ago. But, look, I cannot.
The regulations have changed. The regulations aren't the same.
Well, you know something, I would like to end up knowing those regulations.
They're online.
But from our experience,
They're
from
online.
the history as community members, where we tried to look at things be done, these were some of the discussions that were shared with us by the New Jersey State Department. So I'm just asking, you say these regulations no longer exist, when it comes down to wetlands, that you have a written ability to move, parcels together for larger parcels, as long as you keep the same percentage of the, footage the same, that you're not disturbing any, type of native vegetation and things of that nature that come in the way.
It doesn't work that way anymore. 20 years ago, the regulations were awesome. They're not like that anymore. The regulations are horrible right now. You can't do anything. I literally met with the commissioner of DEP who said salamanders, bats, turtles, and of these things are more important than what we're looking at here.
Now, I'm
Sorry,
talking-
I don't know what to tell you. It's not my regs. It's
have
fine.
we
I'm very frustrated by it. Trust me.
Okay, have we made any official applications, documented, submitted anything in to the DEP, to perhaps maybe 10 years down the road, we're gonna have something? Have we put anything in that fashion? Have we made any
You
movement?
would never do that. You only put an application in DEP when you have an application you're going to build.
Well, have we made any attempts to find something that we could and start the process of?
So
So
what
it's-
would you like to do? Again, if you want to build, and I don't want to belabor this, we can talk offline. If you want to build a massive detention basin to hold the storms you're talking about, it's the entire west side of town.
No, it's not.
Okay, but I don't argue that now. We can argue later on. That's all right. This is not productive, this conversation for everybody else.
Right, you know what?
That's not the reason we're
Going back
here.
and forth like this
Yeah.
isn't gonna solve anything,
No.
folks. I mean, you're talking about 25 years ago.
Yeah, there's no
The
regulations.
regulations change every year, the regulations just change with Governor Cheryl.
Yeah, July 1st.
There's
Hold on.
so, I mean, the man's the expert, you have to go by what he does, you're on the commission.
Al, does he have any suggestions where we could put in a permit? We could work on
Dude,
something
you
in town.
can't get a permit for something that's illegal.
I'm not
You
asking.
cannot, where are you going to?
The only
put
place-
a
Mike, the
retention
professional
facility?
here in town, he knows the town. Is there any place in town that we could do anything?
What do you want
And
to
that
do?
may
What do you,
require
what,
permitting, that we would file the paperwork out, make all the necessary movements forward. Is there anything in town, any property that we could do that with?
again, your question is as broad as it gets. If you say to me, Andy, instead of Jim, say here, I have flooding on Maple Street at that low point, is there anything I could do there? We can sit down and come up with what you can do there and give you the limitations of what it's gonna do. Your question is, what can we do in town? I don't know, there's a lot I can do. Give me $400 million, I'll do a lot here. Literally, that's not being a wise crack. It's money, time, effort, state. There's lots involved. It's not that easy of a question.
But my simple question is, from your professionalism, from your knowledge of the town, is there any place that's possibly doable that we could submit something in to start? And maybe in 10 to 15 years, we would get.
How much money?
Is there any
How
place
much
in town?
money? So the answer is yes. The second part of the answer is how much money do you want to spend?
I just wanted to
Your
know. if
initial
there was-
budget is 25 million. So you tell me, give me 25 million, I'll give you a lot of improvements.
Okay, that's.
I give you 1 million, I give you some improvements. Give me half a million, I give you.
Improvements
I
that
get
can
it.
be?
I can give you 1 million improvements.
Okay,
It's a broadcasted question. I can go on every street and give you a list of improvements. You couldn't afford them.
I say wrap this up, to be honest. with you.
Yeah, no, that's not productive. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think we regroup and,